Oh, hi there, SSE. Kanish here, and I'm going to be doing my post-draft rankings today. And in the interest of time, we're gonna do a bit of an airing of grievances. Um, so I'm just gonna list in order of least to greatest um, my rankings, and I'm gonna give you a gripe about each team because there are plenty of gripes to go around here. So starting in the number 10, and I'd like to remind you, by the way, that I think if we keep things in context, the pre-draft rankings don't always mean a whole lot because I was ranked last year, projected to go 0-10, and we all know how that came about. So that's fine. So at number 10 we have the Shore Shack, and the reason why I say this is because I just I hate DeMarco Murray, first of all, because he's not going to finish the season. He's just not. And then you look at the bench there, and you've got 5 wide receivers on your bench. So there's really nobody to replace him. And at flex, you've got Bernard Pierce, who's really probably not going to be starting this year because Ray Rice is still Ray Rice. He's still going to have the majority of the work. I just can't see, and there's just nothing happening at wide receiver either that I would say warrants that. So at the 9 spot, we have the other Botad, Diesel Rockets. So with, I hate Roddy White. I think he's just going to suck since Julio Jones is going to finish the season this year. I don't really like, Cruz had a terrible fantasy season last year, and, his situation really hasn't changed that much. Spiller's got a committee of 4 or 5 running backs. I can't even count how many he's going to be sharing time with. And I just like to point out, now I wasn't planning on going onto the bench for this analysis, but Matt Asiata is sitting on Diesel Rocket's bench, and that to me warrants probably the worst pick in the draft, just because he doesn't have a chance at playing this year, and even if he does, he's not really much of anything. I mean, he's backing up Adrian Peterson. He's literally one of the most rugged players in the NFL. I boggles the mind. In the 8th spot, we have Troop 417, and to me, this is just a matter of I'm not sure. I just like to. For those who don't know, we are playing in a 1 quarterback league, not a 2 quarterback league. So the fact that Troop 417 picked up 3 quarterbacks in their draft kind of is a head scratcher, and also picked up 2 tight ends, including Antonio Gates, who's probably not even going to be of any fantasy value this year at all with Ladarius Green there in San Diego. So we'll see how that works out for him. In the 7th spot, we have what used to be Joseph's team, and I think as of very recently became Dirty Joe and the boys. Thank God. Just the gripe I have here is Trent Richardson. He literally looked like one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL and one of the worst running backs in the NFL last season. I don't see him being of any real relevance, and the other thing is I think Brady could have a good year, but you reached on him a little bit, and by a little bit I mean a lot. So he went about 6 rounds too early in my opinion, but that being said, he could be relevant this year. At the number 6 spot, we have the Sangies, and my gripes with the Sangies are first and foremost is RG3. I think he's gonna he's looked awful in preseason. Put it that way. They played the Browns a couple weeks ago, and he really didn't look much better than Manziel, who isn't starting week 1 for the Browns. So and RG3 just looked terrible. He can't. He hasn't learned to slide, and he just looks like a mess out there. So he's not a starter for me fantasy wise, but we'll see how that works out. And Decker too. I think Decker's just going to be a throwaway. I think you're going to find him in free agency before the end of the year because he's got God only knows who's going to end up throwing to him, whether it's Vic or what have you. But I think his relevance mainly stemmed from Peyton, and I think that's obviously out the window now. So in the 5 spot, we have Passages actually making a big leap. I like their team this year, but I think Pierre Thomas is and has always been and will always be a fantasy wasteland just because of their committee situation, and I don't think it's going to change much. He's going to be the passing down guy, and he's going to be just with Kyrie Robinson there. It's just not going to be a good situation for him. So, if anything, I would gripe about Pierre Thomas on Passages, but other than that, looking pretty good. In the 4 spot, we have, I know this, Wolf of C Street. So I like the team this year. I think we can all agree that luck was reached on a bit. I think even Wolf of C Street has to agree with that. That might have been a bit of a panic decision. Not that I think Luck's going to be a bad quarterback this year. I just think there were better choices there in the draft. So the other thing that stands out to me is Gore, who's just getting old. I don't think he's going to have nearly the workload that he has in past years, and he's going to lose work to his other backs. And same thing could happen with Lynch, although, I'm personally a huge fan of Lynch, so I don't think that's going to be a huge issue, but I think he is getting older, and he's had tons of carries over the years, so we'll see how that affects him this year. In the 3 spot is going to be Bruce Ayers' club, actually. So big step up for Bruce Ayers. I don't have much to say other than I'm not like super high on Foles, and I don't like Torrey Smith as a fantasy wide receiver. I think he's like the epitome of a deep threat, and I don't think he's had enough deep balls come his way to really be relevant. At least not last year. We'll see what happens, I guess. And number 2 is going to be YB, RIP this league. I just killed it, Sexbabomb. And I think my gripes with my team have really materialized over the past couple days. Those being, oh my god, fucking Le'Veon Bell, okay? I can't even begin to describe how much the administration over at Sexbabomb has reeled over this case. LeGarrette Blount is just the classic bad influence Weymouth kid that you don't want to be hanging around with. Okay, like, they get caught. He literally said, I didn't know you could get a DUI for being high. Okay, like, this is what is leading my backfield next to Charles. Okay, so he's an idiot, and I have to deal with him. And lo and behold, okay, Matt, my kicker Prater is out for 4 games. Like, this is absurd. I can't even. That's the last time I draft a kicker early. Okay, this is ridiculous. And of course, Newton's got rib injuries he's working with, so I'm going to have to keep an eye on that, but I still think he's top 4. And at the number 1 spot, we've got the SCSLU SQ Booty Cheeks Mud Dogs. and so I like their team this year. I think the only gripe I have with them is really Reggie Bush. I think he's gonna like lose a lot of work to Joik Bell. Not that I really liked him even to begin with, but would he's gonna be a passing down guy. And I don't think that's really worked out so well fantasy wise for Sproles, so I don't think it's going to work out for Bush either. And we're going to have to see how Foster does this year. I think it's a big question mark, but I'm pretty high on Foster this year, so I can't really say much about that. So yeah, those are my rankings. So if you didn't like where you ended up, I think it's might be time to start moving some players around. Because this is really like less than half of the battle. So good luck to you guys, and Kanish out.